Christina. I'm going to put my 20 and then.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I am so excited to be here at the Spiritualist Chapel of Melbourne. It is Sunday, April 19th, 2026. I wanted to share that when I woke up this morning, I was sitting on the toilet and I heard a faint rumble. The rumble was getting louder. No, it wasn't me. I live on the Space Coast of Florida, and we all know what that means. A rocket was launching. I hurried out our upper deck, and I turned east and saw the upward spiral. And that is what I want to share with you today. We are on an upward spiral. Friday, 2 days ago, April 17th, was a once-in-a-species moment. The new moon in Aries, and you know what that means from February 20th when we had the new spiritual planet, the planet of spirituality, Neptune, at 0 degrees Aries, converging with the planet of structure, Saturn. That was a new era. And then the following month, March 17th, we had another alignment in the stars. But this month, on the 17th, was very interesting. What I was doing at 7:51 a.m., which is Eastern Daylight Time, I was on the phone with a lady in Spain, and she was onboarding me to a system of education for children that included artificial intelligence. And after we got off the phone, I wrote a children's curriculum for a spiritual curriculum for children. There were 6 sections, and each section had 6 items in it. And this is something that I have lived and experienced, and it is not from the old textbooks, it's from the new experience that I will be writing this curriculum. So that's what came for me. I don't know what came for you, but I know that this is a very important part because I was reminded of this self-care wheel that somebody had done in 2013. You can come and take a picture of it because it's got her website and her contact information. I didn't do it, but it's what you would expect. 6 things that constitute our lives, like mind, body, spirit. We've got psychological, the mind, physical, the body, and then spiritual. Okay, so that's here, and that was there in 2013, right? There's also emotional, because we recognize that social emotional learning is important for children, and we need to teach that for a balanced life. And the self-care wheel also includes personal care and then professional. So I just thought it was interesting because if you look at the educational curriculum today, it doesn't really include these things for self-care. But that's where it needs to start, because who cares about chemistry and biology if we don't know our minds and our emotions and what we're thinking and our connection with other people and relating. So I just want to share that children in the future will have a spiritual curriculum. And that's one of the things that came in that moment of that once in a species lifetime. And I equate it to the invention of the wheel. That we would teach our children about spiritual nature. And the 6 things that I wrote, number 1, let's see if I can remember them. Number 1 was I'm not sure if I can remember it. I know, well, maybe I'm not supposed to share them. Oh. Okay, oversharing. Guess we can't do that. Jesus is in charge. I'm not, so just saying. Okay, God, have it your way. All right, my talk today is called, and yes, I am recording. My talk today is Planting Seeds for the Great Awakening. That's what we're doing, okay? Now I want to talk about the first Great Awakening. It came from evangelical England. George Whitefield, spelled Whitefield, he brought the soul of America. I'm not going to go deep into that. You guys can Google it. But it was 1740. That's the date, okay, that we are starting this Great Awakening from. It was indeed a religious revival, but it came from England to the Americas, and the second name is Jonathan Edwards, because he's the one that spoke in New England, but he was speaking to all the American colonies, okay? It was just the 13 colonies in 1740 that we're starting. What were three highlights of this Great Awakening? It was emotional and it was personal. Taking religion and the concepts of religion out of the walls of the church and bringing them to people, all kinds of people, in fields and wherever they were gathering. Kind of reminds me of Jesus on the Sea of Galilee, wherever he taught, you know. It was a polarity between the old lights and the new lights. Something was changing. They were questioning authority. Now, if you don't know my background, I have a PhD in computer science, which makes me a little weird, but also makes me love numbers. Because when you have a number and you can measure it and this kind of stuff, you just know more. And I like to know more. So it gives me confidence and clarity. So 1740 was the revival that we're talking about, the first Great Awakening. And if you subtract 248 years from that revival, which is a Pluto cycle, you get the origin of this deep transformation. And go ahead, use your calculator, I don't care. It was 1492. What happened in 1492? Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys are still awake. All right. Now, what if, and we can do this because I know math and you have a calculator. What if we take 1740, which is the revival, the first Great Awakening, and we add deep transformation Pluto cycle, 248 years, we get 1988, the new age. Because 6 months prior to 1988, remember, was the first global peace meditation. Remember what did we call it? The harmonic concordance? Yes, look it up. Okay, now, all right. Now, what if we take, not from the spiritual aspect, but from America, because we became law. Now, this is kind of like adding the Saturn thing into it, our Constitution. What if we took 1787, when the Constitution was signed? So again, from the colonies to then the structure of our nation. Let's add Pluto. Deep transformation from the beginning of structure of America in the United States, We're adding 248 years to the Constitution, which was signed in 1787 in Philadelphia. We come to the next Great Awakening, 2035. How do I know that? Math. Thank you. It's also biblical. If you take the New Age, which is 1988, and you add Genesis, the new beginning, which Genesis 47 talks about the Israelites in Egypt. Okay? All right? So we add a new beginning to the New Age, and we get, so we add 47, the number 47, okay, because it has meaning biblically, because it's about God's provision and his protection for the Israelites when they were in captivity, all right? Because basically the New Age was just starting in 1988, but God's provision is coming, and if you add the 47, it is 2035, the next Great Awakening. Now, if you go back to the first Great Awakening, 1740, and you add that 47 of biblical Genesis, okay, to say what was there. Okay, so the kickstart was the preachers that were coming to the people out of the pulpits, okay, but you add this 47 to give it some structure, you arrive at the Constitution, 1787, okay? So that's how it works, is that somehow you need these 47 years to make it real, to make it structure. And that speaks of Saturn, not just a spiritual start like the planet Neptune, but Saturn, the spiritual. Okay, so now we've got the two of them coming in together. That's why it's the birth of the new, essentially. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit about Genesis 47. It is about spiritual growth, perseverance, and that God fulfills his promise. So what I'm saying is, it's taking 47 years to fulfill the promise of the New Age, which began in 1988. Now, Genesis 4:7. These are chakras. 7 is your mind working through your heart. That's what the New Age is. You know, promising, but the delivery on the promise is 2035. Now, what are the 3 things that I think that could bring? Well, I think for number 1, it's going to be holistic health. We are no longer going to be running our health by chemistry, by a quick fix pills, by big pharma. They are out. Okay? It's holistic health, and the father of holistic health is Edgar Cayce, and he read the Bible like every year, and he was very connected to Jesus. So I think that's number 1, is that we all have to take charge of our health. I don't believe that we should be spending, I'm going to offend people, sorry, but I don't believe you should be spending all your money on insurance. I think you should be spending it on massage and, you know, pedicures and manicures and things that make you feel good. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like we have to spend the money in the right way. What are we doing? We can't offload our health to insurance. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Okay. Off my pulpit. The second thing I think that we will see in 2035 is the actual age of Aquarius. Not free love and sex for everybody. No, totally immature. Sorry if you're still there. But it's not going to be like that. It's a much more mature Saturnian responsibility, discipline, right? You know, we get over all of those bad habits, and we just substitute the new good ones, ones that actually make us feel good. So the real age of Aquarius will be in full swing. I mean, Pluto is in Aquarius, not just I mean, now, yes, at 5 degrees, but we're going to see it in our lives as we go into the teens of Pluto and Aquarius, and then on the world stage when Pluto gets to 20 and beyond, right? And then, of course, we know 2044 is when then Pluto will move on from Aquarius, but we're in it now. Okay, so you're going to see that more and more, okay? And then the new peace consciousness, and that's what I'm bringing through the peace prophecy. And what is am I a prophet? No, I'm not the prophet. Samara is the prophet. She came to me when I was at the Prophets Conference. I'm just speaking to the people here now. So she came to me when I was poolside eating dinner at the Prophets Conference, and she said, my name is Samara, and I channel the Blessed Mother. And she told me to tell you, you're going to go to Egypt, not now, in a couple of years. But when you come back, you'll write an important book that brings the past and the future together. And I went, okay. So when I got back from Egypt, I called Samara and I said, hey, Samara, I've gone to Egypt and I'm back. She said, great. And the whole thing is, why did I have to go to Egypt? I had to go to Egypt to see something. I had to go to Egypt to see that the significant pyramids were missing their capstones. So I had to look in my model of the mind and say, which is a pyramid on paper, and say, where's the capstone? That is what I have to share in the new peace consciousness. Okay, so let's go back to the Great Awakening, the next one in 2035. Now, if I subtract 1740, which was the first Great Awakening, the revival, what is the distance between those two? Because some are going to argue, well, that this is the third Great Awakening or whatever, people. It was 295 years, and that is 10 Saturn cycles. Now we're talking about Saturn. Not deep transformation, but the structure that the deep transformation brings, right? And that's what the Peace Prophecy Trilogy is all about. It's about the structure of what I've been given. All right, so now let's talk about Columbus, 1492, and the distance between that and our Constitution, which was the actual law of the land in 1787, and we get 295 years, another Saturn cycle, 10x Saturn. Wow, this is so cool. Is this fun? I have fun with this. All right, so now I know, everybody knows the infinity symbol. Okay, so if you take the midpoint of what I just told you, Columbus and our Constitution, between 1492 and 1787, the midpoint is 1640, Jamestown, Virginia. That's the first settlement. Again, providing a structure. That's the infinity symbol. That's how they're connected. Now, if you take Jamestown, which obviously that midpoint, I want to find out more about that midpoint now. What is that deep transformation? Does everybody know how to calculate the deep transformation just by adding 248 to Jamestown? Does everybody get that? All you have to do is add a Pluto cycle to a significant thing that's the midpoint of this huge thing from Columbus to our Constitution, Jamestown, and we want to know the deep transformation. It was 1888, the Washington Monument. Now we're back to Egypt. Because the Washington Monument has the capstone. The Washington Monument has the capstone. It's called an obelisk, and it is when our country wanted ancient wisdom to stabilize itself so that the people could believe that it was serious, it was timeless, almost eternal, right? So that pyramidion is the middle of that 10 years or 10x Saturn cycle. Okay, so 5 Saturn cycles into it, we get the Washington Monument obelisk and the pyramidion. So the real point of the Washington Monument is going to be known in 2035 by the general public. It is related to Jamestown, okay, by the Pluto cycle. But you all are going to get the meaning of it today, because I'm the one that is bringing it to the masses so that everybody knows about it by 2035. In my model of mind, which I developed with my husband, Tom Gorsuch, after I was in London teaching my software risk management 3-day seminar, and one of the students asked me a question that I couldn't answer. He said, how does risk fit in the big picture? And I'm a risk expert. I'm the American professor. I'm supposed to know everything. And I turned to the board because I thought surely something's going to come out, but nothing did. I drew a blank. So I had to turn back and say, well, I'll get back to you. And I got low marks in London. I went back to my hotel room and my husband was there and he said, how did it go today, honey? I said, well, not very well because the students asked me a question I couldn't answer. He said, don't worry. We'll work on it together when we get home. And then we went and saw Les Mis at the theater. But when we got home, we sat on our back patio by the pool and we said, okay, we're scuba divers. This is what we know. You plan the dive and you dive the plan. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to plan the work and we're going to work the plan. Now, because I'm a nerd and I do word vibrations, I can take the word vibration of those words, plan and work. And plan is a vibration of 16, which is a 7, our mind. And then work is a vibration of 22, and that's a vibration of 4, our heart. That's where the 4 and the 7 come back in. Interesting, right? I mean, 74 is the value of Jesus if you want to do double digits, but I like to get everything down to the single digit because I know more. I know it's a vibration when I get to a single digit. Okay, so we had the corpus callosum now. We're building a model of the mind. And really, we thought we were just doing product development, but it's everything. It's personal development as well. So when we do the work, now there are things we know and things we don't know. So the things that we know, we can measure. What's measure? Measure is a vibration, word vibration of 28, which is a 10, which is a 1. Hold that 10. And things that we don't know, sometimes we have faith, but it's under uncertainty that we have to discover. We called it discover because it reminds us of Columbus. And that's where risk fits in. Risk fits in as an input into the planning process. It's things that the downside, right? The likelihood of loss, things that are negative, right? So they're in the field of all possibility. There's positive and negative. So the negative things we call risk and the positive things we call opportunity. But essentially we had a diamond shape, and then if you connect and so plan to work, but then the other. So it's like we had a diamond cut into 2, right? Like an arrow up and an arrow down. Your divine masculine, divine feminine, if you will, left brain, right brain, frontal lobe, if you will. And discover is a word vibration 41, which is a 5. These are all the pieces of God. G, 7, O, the 10 plus the 5, and then D, which is the 4. So the pieces, 7, 154 are the model of the mind that is a pyramid on paper that I wrote. And when I got it right, my body started vibrating for 3 days. And I finally said, would you let me sleep? And I didn't know what I had drawn. But years later, after my textbook was published, Managing Risk, Methods for Software Systems Development, it's by Dr. Elaine Hall, my first married name. Anyway, the model is in there, but not the capstone. The capstone came later when the textbook was published. 3 years later, I saw our model in a book called Pyramid Power. And it was how you build a 3-dimensional pyramid in 2 dimensions. And I was like, because God had said, in your data flow diagram, straighten the lines. I was getting words like abstract, decompose. And I was like, okay. And anyway, it's a whole story. And I could go on and on. But what I want to share with you is God is the point. Without God, there is no point. But God is with you wherever you go because he is your higher self. Are you God? I don't think so. I think you're a drop in the ocean of God and eternity and infinity. And with that, we'll say amen.